Oh, thank you so much. No, it's an absolute pleasure to be invited on by you today. And yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this because this is something that I have a real belief and a passion in. I really want to share this with you today. And what I want to sort of really stress before we go into it is this presentation is not a ultimate guide to do 6 billion steps and you'll make millions of pounds at the end of it, because I've been on talks like that and very rarely is any process like that ever actually worked specifically for people. But what it will do is hopefully generate some ideas, get you thinking about how you can earn more marketing, because what we don't want to be doing is spending all of our time creating and not actually maximizing it and getting the benefits that the content that we've spent so long creating actually deserves. So what I'm going to do now is I'll share the presentation. I'll probably just keep it a little, I'll leave the introduction hopefully quite open-ended, so it'll get you thinking about things a bit more. And again, obviously, if there are any comments and stuff, please put them in the Facebook group as well, and we'll make sure that we come back to those. Right, so let's share this presentation with you. Hopefully this you'll be able to see. It comes the right way this time, because last time it did not. There we are. Yes. Perfect. So what is owned and earned marketing, and how can businesses use it? Because the first question I'm going to ask you is just who has heard of owned and earned marketing? Now, I want you to just basically at the start of this put into the Facebook group if you've heard of owned and earned marketing, because one of the things that we do, we talk about content marketing. Most people have heard of that. Most people have heard of social media marketing. These are terms that have been around for a long time. Owned and earned marketing hasn't necessarily had the same stage or awareness that these other terms have had, but actually it incorporates all of these different things. And what I want to do is, once you've done that, we're going to then go into the next bit, which sort of breaks down 3 different types of marketing that we have. Now, there is marketing you own, marketing you earn, and marketing you pay for. It's maybe an oversimplification, but it really tries to just break it down into 3 areas that you can quite feasibly understand and get round in your head. Because if you try and overcomplicate things or even oversimplify things, it becomes all messy. But just looking at this, and in this presentation, we're going to look at the owned and earned side of it. So owned is the stuff that you create, that is yours, your IP, the stuff that you have tangibly spent time over. This is your web pages, things like your SEO, your content, your social media posts, your imagery, your graphics, your videos. That is stuff that you have owned, you have created yourself. Marketing you earn is the stuff that other people give you back. This is stuff like interviews, podcast interviews, interviews on things like this, Zoom, reviews, product reviews, company reviews, press mentions, social media mentions, shares. That is earned marketing. Anything that anyone else gives back to you is earned. But these 2 are organic. This is very, very much organic based. Then there is marketing you pay for, which is a bit even broader sense. This could be advertising. It could be anything that you've paid to get a response from. So it's paid advertising, paid media, ad placements, traditional or digital. It doesn't really matter, but there's marketing that you paid for. Owned and earned, we're looking specifically at the organic side of things. So hopefully you're following that so far. Owned and earned is very much organic, and it's basically owned is your actions, earned is what other people give back to you. So that's your introduction. Now, who the hell am I to be able to talk to you about this? So I own my own company, BMR Marketing Limited, and I specialize in owned and earned marketing. This is basically helping you get more out of the stuff that you own and earn more, which is the trust and credibility of the content that you've created. I host marketing podcasts. I've published my marketing book as well. And in 2018, it feels like a world away now. It feels, God, 2018 was what a great year 2018 was. I was named Wales #1 businessman under 35, which is awesome. And until obviously this whole Pandemic, I spoke at a number of conferences around the world talking about this subject and similar issues. But obviously now we do it in a virtual world. So I guess it's still international, but it's from the comfort of my own sort of home office, which is nice and not nice. So I've summarized what owned and earned is, but the question is why is earned marketing so powerful? And why we often forget about it, but this is the difference between your content being amazing but no one's seeing it, and actually amplifying and expanding the reach of the stuff that you've created. Because this is where the trust, credibility, and authority comes from in your content. Because quite frankly, anyone can write anything online. Anyone can create a video. Anyone can create a graphic. And that's great, but there is so much noise out there. How do we differentiate between the stuff that is good and is useful and the stuff that isn't? The stuff that is BS and the stuff that someone's just written because it's a carbon copy of someone else's work, or stuff that actually genuinely has a tangible effect upon your business and your ideas. Earned marketing is that trust. Why? Well, the trust comes from someone else has linked back to you, saying that they believe that this is worthy of me sharing with my audience. Credibility, if you get invited on to speak at an online or a physical conference or an event, that improves credibility because someone who has organized the event has said, this person knows what they're talking about. This person can deliver the knowledge that my audience are looking for. They have placed trust in you that you can deliver that to the audience. That is an incredible example of earned marketing, why it's so powerful. Authority, when you able to present your ideas and other people share them, comment on them, interact with them, that is authority, because people are listening to you. Your weight and your words, your imagery has gravitas. And the point thing is it uses the potential of other people's networks. It doesn't just rely on you as well. It doesn't have to be you trying to constantly share your own stuff and bat it over their head and go, read this, read this. Now it starts taking a life of its own. The more earned you get, it generates more and more, and it becomes a nice snowball effect. It doesn't rely on you creating endless reams of new content all the time. It uses other people to help generate that snowball effect. And the key thing about this is that earned marketing extends the reach and impact of your owned marketing. We spend huge amounts of time creating this stuff, and we outreach it through our email list, through our existing social media platforms. But if people don't interact with that, if people don't share it, comment on it, they don't think it's valuable, then the reach of that post or that content that you create, that owned marketing you've created, only goes so far. By thinking about the earned side of things, how can I get more reviews? How can I get more shares? Who can I impact? So I'm going to share loads of different tools. I'm going to think 12 different ideas I've put together on how you can actually earn more marketing. It extends the reach of your brand. If you think about yourself in the middle of this slide here, your content, you're owned in the middle. That's your hub. I know you're not the center of the universe, because that was one comment I've had before, is like, well, you're obviously not the center. I know, but in this case where you create your own stuff, that is yours. You've created this bit of content and you can reach out so far. But in order to actually find new audience, to get it into new areas, to reach people that you haven't previously reached, you need to be able to leverage other areas of earned marketing. So reviews could be one of them. An organic share could be another one. One of them could be a comment on there, which means that it suddenly opens up your post to more people. This is where, if we look at LinkedIn as a prime example of this earned marketing, because you put a post out there, and if no one comments on it, it may reach a couple of hundred people from your connections. If people start commenting on it and start sharing it, you start seeing the amount of people view and have seen your content go up and up and up. That's earned value in your marketing. If you can get people to comment on things and share it, then suddenly that's an earned marketing. You've created this content, get people to interact and share with it. It's not just a case of putting it out there. It's about actually maximizing the use of it. Again, how much time does it take for you to earn that marketing? How much time would you have spent creating that one bit of content that you shared online? And how much time would it be for you to try and engage a few people in order to amplify that reach? The times just aren't even comparable. So what is the issue that most of the marketers are then facing then? What is that issue? And the issue is that we create a lot of marketing, but we often fail to make sure that it lives up to its full potential. And it is a crying shame. We spend a blog post, let's say it takes 4, 6, 8 hours to create. And then we share it once, maybe share it twice, and we just put it out on our social. We don't actually try and engage anyone in it. We don't actually try and outreach to other places. We do the same thing that we've always done. We've put it on our existing platforms where people are we already have these connections. Yes, it may engage some of these people, but we're not, going back to this slide, we're not actually extending the reach and impact of it. We're just going out to the same people. So maybe these people who are seeing us more want to work with us a little bit more, but we're not actually expanding the reach of what we're talking about. We need to make sure it lives up to its full potential. So we need to make sure we balance things. When we say balance, we need to make sure that we create a little bit less. If we're time poor, we can create a little bit less, but we can improve the quality and the distribution, particularly of that, which improves the reach and the credibility of our own marketing. Because it's not just about reaching more people, it's about getting more credibility for what we have. Because otherwise we become like anyone else. It's easy to share stuff. It's easy to put stuff on your own social media profile. It's easy to send out an email, theoretically, but it's not easy to necessarily get the credibility from that. That credibility comes from other people saying, yes, this person is good, and leaving reviews of the work that you've done. Of other people going, yes, I believe in that. I want this person to come and speak at my event. Oh, I'd love to get this person on my podcast. Because that is credibility. You can then use that then to drive more sales in the future. So it's thinking about not just going, we've created these, we've got 12 blogs on that are really good, but where's the evidence that they're good? Where is the earned element that says, actually, this company, this person does know what they're talking about, or there is evidence that other people agree or disagree, or whatever it is that the reaction that you want people to take from it is. This is where we need to think about these things and how we need to balance them. So how can we do this? Now, I've put a little note, a caveat on this that says not all may be relevant or appropriate, because like I said at the start, this isn't like do all these things and you're going to have the best earned marketing strategy you've ever seen. In 2020, you're going to absolutely crush it with everything and your business is going to explode. Yes and no. Some of these will have a huge impact on your business, but not every business is the same. Not every business creates the same content. Not every same business wants to actually have the same goals or has the same structures to be able to do this. So what I want you to do with these ideas is think about how you can potentially use them. Is this idea relevant to me? Is it something that I can practically do? And what I've done as well, I've broken it down into paid stuff and free stuff, because sometimes you want to make sure that there's certain stuff you go, actually, I don't want to pay for that. Some things you pay for and you can actually get further reach. So when you think about these ideas, think about actually, is it relevant and appropriate? Because otherwise you spend a lot of time potentially doing something where another idea could be of more benefit for you. So some ideas. There's a free tool, Chrome plugin called Zest.is. Hopefully some of you have heard of it already, and it's free, and you can basically submit your own content and it reaches more people. You reach more people. I can't tell you the number of backlinks that I've got from this and traffic to the site, and then people who've signed up to my email list just from submitting good quality content to Zest. Why do I like Zest? Because actually they review all the content before they add it in there. It's really simple. It's a free tool. You can submit your content to there, and then actually I've got backlinks from it. You've created this content. Why not maximize it by submitting it somewhere like that, where other people have the potential of being able to read your content? Really simple. Harrow. Hopefully people have heard of Harrow. Harrow is called Help a Reporter Out. This is a free service by a PR company called Cision. They send out a number of emails each day, and it's free. And it's people, journalists, websites, and other online publications are looking for contributions to the content they wish to create. Now, on authoritative websites. So again, you're able to, if you use any SEO tools such as Moz, you can be able to have a look at the domain authority on there. A lot of these provide backlinks back to your website. That is earned credibility not only for yourself because you've been mentioned in another article, you shared content there. It's more evidence that other people around the world or in your industry are taking note of what you're saying. But it also gives credibility back to Google as well, because you've got a follow backlink back to your website. It's free. You do get a lot of emails. You have to siphon through quite a lot of stuff to be able to find the right contributed medium. But it's a way of being able to share your ideas and earn backlinks and more mentions of other publications for very little work. Response source. Response source is basically the big daddy, essentially, of the two. This is a paid medium, and it's not particularly cheap. I think, so you're talking about, I think it's £100 and something a year. So, but it's not expensive by any bit. But this is more for higher end publications. We're talking tabloids, broadsheets, large media outlets and organizations. These are proper journalists and press associations who are looking for contributions and ideas on subject matters. They have a story and they want people to contribute to that and verify what they're saying or challenge it. So an example, I was featured in the Times last year because of using response source. I responded to a journalist who was looking for ideas about productivity, and I talked about my Amish hour and talked about actually how the spending of endless time on trying to perfect things isn't necessarily a good use of time, and things like that. It's paid, but it gets you in. It got me in the Times, which is a respectable paper. Now that is credibility, which then feature on my website, which shows that I have more gravitas in what I'm saying, more trust, more credibility, more authority. Allies and collaborations, free, paid. There are different mediums. Joint content marketing with relevant businesses. You don't have to go it all alone. Again, think about the extending the reach of what your own marketing is doing. How can we join up with other people to double the audience size, triple the audience size? How can we get more ideas? So it's not just you necessarily talking to a camera. How can we do things together? These allies and collaborators are an incredible way of being able to share your content. You help them, you share stuff for them, they can reach your audience. If you like them and you know that they're going to offer value, why would you not share it? And the vice versa. They would share stuff as well. If they know they like you, trust you, you have trust, credibility, authority, they will share your stuff. Don't negate allies and collaborators. Again, it can be free. Speak to the people that you know that you've met at these events. They like your ideas. They will share them. Don't be afraid to ask them. Hashtag journo request, simple Twitter feed. Again, free. And it's journalists looking for contributions and content on Twitter. But it's one of those things. Sometimes I forget about this one because it's so simple. Just search hashtag journo request. Twitter is a great source for things like this. Again, there is a lot of rubbish on there, but I tell you what, there is some great stuff. And I know people who are featured on like the Victoria Derbyshire show as a result of them responding to a journo request tweet. Really, really simple, but can be really effective. Ask your readers, to listeners, to share, comment, and review. Sometimes we just forget that. Why can't we? Our trusted readers, our trusted listeners, ask them to review. We have a podcast. Why not ask people to review? We have people who are on our Facebook groups, in our chats. Why don't we ask them to leave a review of the stuff that we're doing? Ask them to share, because sometimes people don't even think about it. They're so ingrained and engrossed in the content that we've been sharing, sometimes they forget. And it's okay to ask, because especially if you're delivering stuff for free, it's absolutely okay to ask people to interact with it and actually ask people to help grow and share it with their audiences. Again, if it's relevant and interesting to them, why wouldn't they? Interviews and podcasts. Some are free, some are paid. Interview others, or try and get on shows yourself. This helps you build your credibility. It shows that either you know people in your industry who can add value to your audience. That's a lot of how I built my personal brand, is through a podcast. Well, I didn't necessarily have the answers, but I brought on other people who did have specific knowledge in specific areas, in particular marketing buzzwords that I was talking about at the time. And that helped build my personal brand, because other people went, oh, look at these people. And that helped amplify my audience. My audience grew exponentially because of that. When you're a guest on these live shows and podcasts, someone else has given up or offered you a place on their show that they could have offered to anyone else. It's your opportunity and your duty to give as much value as possible from that. And in return, that will give you that trust, credibility, and authority. I know I'm repeating some of these same words, but it is really key to this whole premise of earned marketing. Guest posting. Some websites are great for it, others not. Some you can contribute to other people's website and earn relevant and quality links. You get a link back. That's a great earn signal to Google. You get more mentions, you've got more contribution to other content. You can link that back into your thing. Look, as being featured in Forbes, Social Media Today, as being featured in BBC News. Imagine that when you see someone who's actually, oh, look, this person's been featured on BBC News talking about the stuff that they're passionate about and that they do. Oh, this person has got more gravitas than Joe Blogs down the road. That is an incredible example of earned marketing, just by guest posting, contributing. Your email list, feature others on your emails. Ask the other, again, it's okay to do these swaps with people. It's free to feature other people and you can collaborate content on there. It's something that we often forget. We go, we need to send out emails ourselves, but it's okay to collaborate with other people because you share more ideas, different perspectives. That increases trust. Someone else will share it then with the person who you featured is likely then to share it with their audience, expands the reach. They've shared your email. That shows that they trust what you're saying and they trust that this email is also going to be relevant to their audience, helps grow your audience as a result. Review sites. We're talking here about Trustpilot, FIFO, anything that ratemyplumber.com. It doesn't matter, but the more reviews you get of your services is your audience saying that, yes, you are as good as you say you are. Yes, you can do what you say you can do. That is an incredible way of earning trust, credibility, and authority from the stuff that you do. How much effort has it taken you to ask for a review? That content, some people will write almost paragraphs about how good you are. That is stuff that you just can't say about yourself. How much trust, credibility, and authority does that review have over you going, I'm amazing, I can do all this stuff for you? And anyone can say that online. Not everyone can write these reviews about what you actually do. Speaking at events, conferences, Zoom calls, whatever you're speaking at, again, someone else has given up that stage. Someone has given that slot to you. That is an incredible bit of credibility. How many people go, oh, I've spoken at X number of events, spoken around in X number of countries. That is more credibility. It doesn't make them necessarily better or worse, but that person potentially has more credibility because they've been offered a platform more times. So it doesn't make it necessarily better or worse, but it does give them more credibility and more kudos. And the final one is influencers and authorities. Now, some people like and some people loathe the word influencer marketing. And that's great. Some people call it authority marketing. To be honest, I don't really care what you call it. But the work you do with influencers and industry experts can extend your reach. Why? Because they have followings who still trust them. If you collaborate with these people in your particular relevant industry and authority, then there is a good chance that you're able to pick up some of their audience because they go, this person trusts me, and so therefore I'm going to trust them. We talk about this before. We talk about when individuals, how much more likely are you to trust a new source when someone has referred you to it. This is the same thing with influencers and authorities. If someone who is in a place of authority or influence over others says, you're a person to work with, that's going to have more gravitas than you just reaching out with a paid ad or just going, hey, nice to meet you on LinkedIn. I'd love to share you about my 12 ideas that are going to make you the best thing in the world. But if someone says, actually, you know what? Lenka Kapova actually really knows her stuff on social media. You're more likely to take note of that than if Lenka said, hey, Ben, I'm the best social media marketer in Cambridge, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't make sense. But as soon as we add some authority behind it, it works because we trust it. So hopefully you'll see from some of those ideas a lot of different ideas. Some of them will work for you. Some of them may not be relevant. Working with influencers or speaking may not be for you, but hopefully there will be one or two ideas in there that you can go, actually, why have I not got reviews on these people? Why have I not collaborated with other people? And that's what I want you to do, is think about how can I what ideas can I use from this that will help me earn more marketing for my business? Now, question is, how's your rack? I really regret coming up with this little RAAC, because rack just doesn't have the ring to it that I would like, but it's memorable, I guess. So your rack. Research, action, amplify, collect. It's just 4 simple steps that I use. Again, may or may not be relevant to you, but it's simply research, action, amplify, collect. So research, right? This is the content. How can I actually earn more from this? What are the mediums that are going to work best? Can I talk about that? Can I guest, if I guest post this, is that going to be a good way of being able to amplify, able to get more earned marketing? Do I just want to submit this to to PR newswire to get the press release distributed? Actually actioning it. How do we amplify this? How can we extend the reach? Do we feature this on our website, saying also featured in Forbes, also featured in the Times? Are we collecting the data off it? What is our actual call to action from it? Because then we don't want to forget, this is how do we collect the information that we want from it? We research the topic, we know what we're going to do, we action it, we amplify it through earned marketing. Do we submit it to Zest.is? Do we look at talking about the same subject through Harrow? Do we look to see if there's anything on Response Source? Do we ask our email list to what they contribute? And what are we going to collect off the end of it? What is our goal from this? Because if we're not collecting stuff, then we're almost throwing it into the wind. We have to make sure, again, I'm sure that Lenka on some of the other talks as well has gone through, is how do we actually measure, and how do we actually tangibly understand what the impact of what we've just shared is. So who is all this applicable to? Like what businesses will this work for? And ultimately, it's anyone who is creating content, anyone who is owning their own content. If you're creating quality marketing, or what you believe to be quality marketing, you can earn marketing on the back of it. The key is quality. If you're not doing a good job for other people, they will not leave you a review. If you're not sharing stuff that's useful, they will not share it. However, if you create something that is relevant and interesting to other people, it's not for me to tell you right now that what you're creating is amazing or not. But what we do, if it's useful and interesting to me, and I believe it's going to be interesting to the people that follow me, then of course I will share it. Of course I'm going to want to help expand the reach of yours, because if it's useful to me and I think it's useful to other people, I want to be more helpful to more people. I want more people to see it then, because it's going to be useful to them. But again, the quality is key. If it's not good quality, it doesn't have to be, that doesn't mean it has to be a 5,000 word blog article. It can be a short article. It could be a simple infographic. It doesn't have to be a massive one. But you can't earn marketing if your owned marketing doesn't add value in the first place. And for me, one of the biggest things for me, earning marketing, was the credibility that the book gave me. And this is probably one of the biggest pieces of owned marketing that I have created. And the biggest piece of own marketing has earned me so much credibility as a result. It's basically it's opened up a huge number of doors in terms of speaking, in terms of podcasting, in terms of networks and email collaborations, in terms of being guests on other shows. Creating a bit of owned content has earned so much from the back of it. And I'll tell you what, the time that I spent creating the owned doesn't necessarily calculate to the impact the earned has had off the back of having this single owned entity. Now, a book may be for you. It may not be for you. It could be anything, a blog post, a website. But the more earned you can get from this, it improves the time that you've spent on creating that owned bit of content. Scan. So again, hopefully, if you've listened to what I've said and hopefully you think, oh, I can understand why Lenka has hopefully invited me on here, and hopefully I've delivered the value that Lenka wanted me to in this. is please scan this, join to the email club, and I'll happily spend an hour, probably more, with you about discussing your owned and earned marketing and how you can amplify the specific reach, because some of those ideas I can help you and go, this idea may be better for you, because if you don't know where to start, I can help you with that. So please join the email list where I'll share some ideas or drop me an email, because it is difficult. We want to know that we just want to maximize the time that we spent. We spent time creating this owned content. How are we going to actually make the most of it? And that's the thing, is anyone can create owned content. Not everyone can create good owned content, but if you have created useful owned content to someone, it is so worth spending the time earning more from it, because that will have a huge lasting impact upon your business. That credibility, trust, and authority will lead you to gaining more business, as opposed to just sharing stuff and hoping that it's going to work. Thank you very much for listening. There are my contact details. Lenka, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ben. This was fantastic. Absolutely blown away. Brilliant talk. Thank you so much. We got a couple of comments kind of commenting on the earlier question, if people know what actually earned marketing is. And lots of people who, work in marketing and stuff like that are like, oh, I actually haven't heard of the differentiation between own and earned. So I'm so happy that we have you here to kind of give us a little bit more insight into the differences of earned and own marketing. First question is, if you're just about starting a business and you don't have just yet any blog post, you don't have any content, and you just seen this talk and now you're thinking, so where do I start? Do I start writing content? Do I do blog posts? Do I do guest posts? Do I do podcasts? There's lots of great tips, but if I'm just about starting out, I feel a little overwhelmed. Yes. What do you suggest I do?
It's difficult to earn stuff without creating anything that you can tangibly reference back to after. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to create something. This is a website or anything. Until you've done some work, you can't really generate a review. Until you've created a blog post, it's difficult to get anyone to share what you're talking about. So you have to own something first. You have to be relevant and interesting. So that's where you've got to start. You've got to start by creating stuff. If you don't create stuff, it's really difficult to earn, because again, you've got nothing to show your trust and credibility on, or actually reference people back to. So that is the key thing, is once you've started creating something. So again, it's almost like a website could be your home base. We see it with a lot of businesses now. They don't necessarily feel like they need to have a website, which is equally fine. I know so many people that have built their business off social media. That's your home base. Build your home base there. There's nothing wrong with that, but you've got to have a focal point for your owned content, and from it then you're able to then reference out to other people and say, what is the best way of me earning more off the back of this? Right, okay, if I built my business through a Facebook group, what is the earned actions that I can take from that? Maybe going and using Harrow or Response Source isn't necessarily relevant to that. That's why these were just ideas, because it's not relevant. But actually asking people to share, messaging individually the people within your group and asking them to share. Doing an email, is an email useful to people? Bringing in collaborators and doing like this, bringing in experts to contribute live to the group. Now that's a different way of earning credibility, because people go, oh, of course you should come and be a part of this Facebook group, because Lenka is bringing in all these guests who are talking about stuff that's actually going to make a difference to your business. Now that's what you say. You've got to have somewhere that you own content, and then you can start earning stuff off the back of it. It doesn't matter where that hub necessarily is. It's as long as it's relevant to your business.
Fantastic. We have a question from Emma, and she's asking, if you could choose one aspect of earned marketing that is the most important, which one would it be?
It depends. I hate saying this, it depends on what your goal is. It really depends. So for me, there are two things that I really care about with my own marketing. Is one, actually, is this going to potentially win business for me in the future? So if I go and speak at a conference, that is an incredible bit of earned marketing. And then it's like, how can I actually maximize that earned marketing? So it's how am I growing my audience as a result? And the second thing I think about is from an SEO perspective is, am I getting links? Is this more relevant content that will help grow the authority of my site and improve the value that my site can offer to other people? So there are two things I look at: is will this grow my network and my potential reach, which will grow my business because I've got more authority. So someone goes, oh, I've listened to Ben speak about owned and earned marketing. I want to work with him. I want to speak to him about that. And you never know whether this will develop in the future. So that's what I think about first. Second thing is, if I was going to if I was going to then contribute to someone else's website through a guest post, through a thing, is how can I utilize that now? Will that give me a backlink? If I go and guest on a podcast, it's how can I get a guest? Can I get a backlink from that? Can I feature that on my website, which will then help improve my SEO? So that's the way I look at things. So when, in answer to your question again, it all depends on what your particular goals are and what you want to achieve as your business. For you, it might be showing that you do a damn good job. So reviews of your service may be the most important earned aspect for your business.
Great, thank you so much. We have an interesting question from who's asking, there are so many groups on LinkedIn, Facebook, and other social media platforms. You may not be able to answer this fully, but why do people join groups and then do not interact or add value in the groups? So
to be honest, some groups I'm members of and I don't interact with. Some of them it's a conscious, it's like I want to see what people are sharing and see if just keep an eye on, because there are so many groups. If I spent all day interacting with different groups, I would spend all my day having conversations, some of which would be great, some of which would be irrelevant. And you have to decide on where you think you get the most value from. I get value from being part of these groups because I see things pop up and I'll look at the links or read some of the discussions, but sometimes I don't have anything to value to add because the discussion has already been had because I haven't been in there. Other times, there are other groups that I'm hugely active in. So I'm part of a group called Yenna in Bristol, which is a young entrepreneurs group. And that one I'm hugely active in. There are other social media groups that I'm not hugely active in, and I'm more of a stalker in those groups. For me, it's a time issue because I want to know what's going on. I join these groups because I want to see what's going on. And if something catches my eye, I'm like, yeah, of course I'll dive in on that live chat or stuff. But sometimes it is just a time suck, and I'm working on stuff, and I'll go, all right, I've got 10 minutes to look at a conversation. I've got 10 minutes to go onto Facebook group. I see a conversation. I go, oh, maybe I can add value. But by the time I've written a post, if I put a thought-provoking question on there, I'm not going to be able to look at it again for 4 hours, and the conversation's moved on. So personally, then I wouldn't necessarily contribute there, not because I don't want to, but sometimes it's a time suck. So it's someone who owns a group, I guess it's your responsibility to try and make that as interactive and make people want to contribute as much. The more value you can offer, the more interaction you get, the more people will interact more. If you stop posting and stop interacting, then it sort of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy either way. I think Alenka would probably be better to talk about from a group host more than me, but that's the way that I see things.
Yeah, and I would absolutely agree. There are different people in groups, and I would be member of certain groups just to watch what's happening, to learn from the host and the organizer of the group, how they're actually managing group, and I'm literally there just to kind of watch things and learn from the things. In certain groups, I'm literally there just for the conversations, and I'm there to engage with people. Other groups are more for the content. So yes, that's absolutely up to you. What is the purpose of, if you have a group, what you want your group to look like and feel like, and obviously encouraging people. If it's more personally that you're joining groups and see them being inactive or see only a handful of people engaging there, then obviously it is up to the research and choosing just handful of the right kind of groups for you to join. Just a side note, if anyone or if we have more people who would be interested in getting a talk about Facebook groups or in general groups, just let me know in the comments and we will find an expert on this topic and we will bring them on board to help you manage groups better or get more value from joining groups. I have one question about collaboration for you, Ben. So if I'm looking to collaborate with someone, be it join on their email list, be it have some kind of a sharing, how do I decide who would be the people that I want to collaborate with? What would be your kind of, how would you conduct the research to choose the right companies, brands, media to collaborate with?
Yeah, the ones, the real simple one where I started and has failed me very little is simply the people that I like, know, and trust. It's very, what are the media outlets that I read from? I like those, I trust those. They're the ones that I would want to be featured in. Again, same thing with the people. I see people like, again, I know people in the group would be aware of John Asperian because he obviously spoke at Cambridge Social Media Day. Trust that guy on LinkedIn. If I have a question, he's someone I would want to, because I like his content. I read his content, and he's someone then that I would trust to try and do a collaboration with if it was relevant to me at a particular time. It all comes down to who you trust and who you like, know, and trust. Because if you can be maybe more specific and go, this person has an audience size of millions, and that may be relevant to you. But again, if they don't offer the value and you don't trust they can offer the value, ultimately that could potentially have a really damaging effect on your business. That's where the trust and credibility is so important, because if that person is credible to you and you believe they can offer value, then they are going to be a person that you are more like you should collaborate with, because you have similar ties, you believe in a similar way of thinking. There is so much more that connects you, as opposed to someone that may just have a big audience, because a big audience doesn't mean actually it's going to be right fit for you. They could be of a completely different mindset. Just because they have a big audience doesn't mean they're right.
Brilliant. Yeah, we had a couple of comments from Wee who asked questions about joining the groups. So she said, yes, I have the same issue sometimes. I don't run any groups, but I am a member of a few where there's thousands of members, but not much interactions. So yeah, we all know that you look at a group and there's so many, because if they're closed, you can't see the engagement, you can't see the comments, but someone invited you, you've seen the link somewhere. So you join in and you see lots of posts and no one ever comments on. So that's a group that I would say, if the content is interesting, and actually if the group posts at least some news and updates, even if there's not enough interaction, it could be helpful to just stay part of it and check it here and there to see some updates. Or if you were joining in a hope to get some interactions, then just leave and join another group.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's always difficult when we join so many groups as well. I've joined groups, and I'm pretty sure I've forgotten that I'm even a member of these groups, because they actually, potentially as a host, you may want to actually kick some of these people out of these people who are, have never been there. But that's a choice that you'd have to make as a host. I can't tell you that that's the right or wrong thing to do. But I know I've joined groups. I've been members of them for probably 8 years, and I can't even remember looking at a post from them because someone invited me at some stage. I've gone on there. It obviously didn't offer the value I was looking for at that particular time. And then because I've not interacted with it, Facebook stopped showing me content from that group, which means it's just slid down my list. So I'm probably a member of like hundreds and hundreds of groups, but I probably only know really about 10 that I'm a member of these days.
Yeah, fantastic. One last question, because I know that you've done lots of podcasting and lots of guest podcasting and lots of speaking. What would be your tips if I want to get more podcast guests on my podcast, or if I want to earn more, if I want to get more guest podcast opportunities? What would be your tips?
So the same thing with the collaborations. If you want to get more people on your things, it's the people you like, know, trust, that you believe can add value. You've seen them offer value. You've seen the content that they're offering. Then they're the people that you want to bring on the show. It's not necessarily the ones who've got 6 billion followers. That's great. Kim Kardashian may be a great guest for you, but she might not be. And she's probably harder and more expensive to get than most people as well. But things like that is where you've got to have the value. Remember, if you run a podcast, it's not about you. You are the person it is about least. It's about what you can offer to the audience. So the people you get on have to add value to the audience. So that's the first thing. If you want to get more, interviews on podcasts or things, there are a couple of things that you need to think about. Again, it's being personal. I think there are a couple of really good posts about this. So there's a video on YouTube by a guy called Chris Drucker, and it's how to be a good podcast guest. Have a watch of that. I think John Asperian has recently done a couple of months ago about how to get on more podcasts. But the basics of it are, and again, I agree a lot with what these people have said, is that you have to interact with the person. You have to know that they have to trust you, again, because I think from your perspective, the people you want to get on your show, you want to trust them and know they're going to add value. And the same comes the other way. If you just reach out cold to someone who's never heard of you, never read your content before, why on earth would they invite you on their show? What? Because that's potentially not going to add any value to their audience. It's going to switch off their audience. They're not going to want to listen in the future. So you have to build up trust and credibility with this person, have conversations. And that's I think this is almost a conversation for a complete, you could spend almost like an hour on this alone. But yeah, it all comes down to the like, know, trust. If they don't like you, know you, or trust you, then they're not going to invite you on their podcast. You have to go from that way. Is right. What value can I offer to this person? Do I know the host? If I don't know the host, it's okay to reach out to them saying, I'd love to get to know you. I want to be on this, but I want to make sure that I can offer the value that your audience are looking for. Not going, I can offer the value to your audience. I can do this, this, and this. But actually, I've received hundreds of emails, and it's like, you clearly haven't listened to a damn episode of the show. I still get people reaching out to my show that I don't host anymore. And I go, oh, I've been listening to your shows recently. What? The ones from a year and a half ago that obviously clearly is not going on anymore. It simple things like that. Again, it's a personal human touch, and that's the biggest thing I can really say. If you want to get on more shows, it does take time, but the earned rewards of it, of being able to feature the podcast on your website, being able to get a backlink, being able to show that other people have featured you on a thing, that's 3 earned examples I can give you right there of just going on one podcast. Multiply that by 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got a load of credibility and trust there.
That gave me last question, kind of an idea for it. So do you have like a matrix, or do you have like a process for actually repurposing your content and getting some kind of a process of, okay, I'm creating this, how can I maximize it? Do you have a process for that?
Yes and no. It all depends on the actual post that I want to create and the goal of that particular post. So for example, if I write a blog post, I have a process. I have a standard set of things that I would do. So straight away is, right, I've written this post. I'm going to put it on. I'm going to create the email. I'm going to send it out. I'm going to submit it to zest.is. I'm going to do things like that. So that's just a process that I've figured out over the years. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to schedule it on social media for X number of times. However, there is other bits of content where you've done a talk on, I've done, so for example, I was speaking in Paris last year with Social Bakers, and we did a video together where we talked about the future of content marketing, stuff that I didn't expect to happen. And that you have to find different ways. So I'm like, okay, that would actually feature well on my website on the homepage, because that gives, that's someone else interviewing me. That would work well there. Okay, it probably wouldn't work in this context. So then to make sure I get the most value from it. If I did a matrix, like a step-by-step for everything, I feel like you wouldn't really get the benefit of it. You have to understand that if I write a blog, then I need to do certain things, but actually, where is this going to be more relevant? And every single thing you write may or may not be relevant for more places. You might write a blog post and you go, actually, this might be a better guest post than it is actually on my website, because for whatever nature it is, you might go, actually, I want to feature this on my website. I can actually feature this quite heavily on social, because it works well on social. Someone's done a clip of a podcast interview. That would work really well on social. Constantly sharing the full podcast episode wouldn't work on social. It just wouldn't have the effects. You have to be a bit more strategic about what you share and where, and what's actually going to have the impact. Because again, if you just share stuff, people turn off, you lose trust, credibility. So it's difficult. There's not like a bam, bam, bam. And that's why I don't share a full process of like, I do X, Y, Z, and say, you need to follow this process because it works, because every post and every individual, every business is slightly different. That's why I'm much more in the ideas game than the the fixed process game.
No, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Ben. This was fantastic.